Now, before anyone panics, cheese itself isn't the enemy. Cheese has calcium, protein, and certain vitamins that aging bones and muscles genuinely need. The problem is that not all cheese is created equal, and after 60, your body handles sodium, saturated fat, and certain additives very differently than it did when you were 35. Your kidneys don't flush sodium as efficiently anymore. Your arterial walls have less elasticity. Your liver processes cholesterol more slowly. So a cheese that might have been fine decades ago can now act like a slow poison to your cardiovascular system, raising LDL cholesterol, which is the bad kind, increasing fluid retention, spiking blood pressure, and contributing to arterial plaque buildup. And here's the thing that frustrates cardiologists the most. Many of these cheeses are marketed as wholesome, natural, even healthy. Seniors buy them thinking they're making a good choice. Nobody told them otherwise, until now. Let me walk you through the 4 cheeses that cardiologists consistently flag as problematic for anyone over 60, explain exactly why each one is dangerous, and then give you smarter alternatives that still let you enjoy cheese without gambling with your heart. Let's get into it. The first cheese on this list is one that probably lives in your refrigerator right now. Processed American cheese, those individually wrapped singles, the deli-sliced kind, even the blocks labeled cheese product. Here's the truth that food manufacturers don't want printed in large letters on the package. Processed American cheese isn't really cheese in the traditional sense. It's a blend of milk fats, whey protein, emulsifiers, artificial colorings, and an enormous amount of sodium. One single slice, just one, contains roughly 400 to 470 milligrams of sodium. That's nearly a quarter of the daily limit that the American Heart Association recommends for seniors with high blood pressure. Think about that. 2 slices on a sandwich and you've already consumed almost half your sodium budget for the entire day, and you haven't even salted your soup yet. Why does this matter so much after 60? Because sodium causes your body to retain water. More fluid in your bloodstream means more pressure against vessel walls that are already stiffer and less forgiving than they used to be. Over weeks and months, that extra pressure damages the delicate inner lining of your arteries, a lining called the endothelium, and creates the perfect conditions for plaque deposits to form and harden. A retired school teacher named Dorothy came into a cardiology clinic last spring with dangerously elevated blood pressure that wasn't responding well to medication. Her doctor asked her to keep a food diary. Turns out, Dorothy was eating 3 to 4 slices of processed American cheese every single day, on crackers, melted on toast, layered into sandwiches. She had no idea it was contributing to her readings. Within 6 weeks of switching to a lower sodium option, her numbers dropped 14 points systolic without any medication change. Many seniors ignore how much sodium hides in processed cheese because it doesn't taste particularly salty. That's the deception. The emulsifiers and fats mask the salt flavor while your cardiovascular system absorbs every milligram. If processed American cheese is a staple in your kitchen, it's time to find a replacement. We'll cover better options at the end. The second cheese cardiologists want seniors to be cautious about might surprise you, especially if you consider yourself a bit of a food lover. Blue cheese, including Roquefort, Gorgonzola, and Stilton varieties. Now, blue cheese does contain some beneficial compounds. There's research suggesting certain mold-ripened cheeses have anti-inflammatory properties. But for seniors over 60, particularly those managing heart conditions or taking specific medications, blue cheese presents 3 distinct problems. First, the sodium content. A single ounce of Roquefort contains approximately 510 milligrams of sodium. That's higher than processed American cheese per serving. Most people don't measure an ounce carefully either. They crumble it generously over salads, spread it on crackers, use it in dressings. A typical restaurant blue cheese salad can contain 2 to 3 ounces easily. You're looking at over 1,500 milligrams of sodium from the cheese alone. Second, and this is the one cardiologists worry about most, blue cheese contains high levels of tyramine. Tyramine is a naturally occurring compound that forms when bacteria break down the amino acid tyrosine during the aging and fermentation process. In a younger, healthy body, enzymes called monoamine oxidases break tyramine down efficiently. But many seniors over 60 take medications called MAO inhibitors for depression or anxiety. If you're on any MAO inhibitor, drugs like phenelzine, tranylcypromine, or isocarboxazid, consuming tyramine-rich foods like blue cheese can trigger a hypertensive crisis. That's a sudden, dangerous spike in blood pressure that can cause stroke, brain hemorrhage, or cardiac emergency. Even seniors not on MAO inhibitors may have reduced enzyme efficiency simply due to aging, making tyramine a subtler but still real cardiovascular stressor. Third, the saturated fat density. Blue cheese packs roughly 5.3 grams of saturated fat per ounce. For seniors whose LDL cholesterol is already borderline or elevated, that concentrated dose adds up fast, particularly because blue cheese is rarely eaten alone. It's paired with bread, nuts, wine, red meat. The cumulative saturated fat load of a typical meal featuring blue cheese can exceed 10 grams without effort. If you love that tangy, sharp flavor profile, there are safer ways to achieve it. A small amount of feta, which we'll discuss as an alternative, delivers similar sharpness at significantly lower sodium and tyramine levels. If you're over 60, or if you're caring for an elderly parent, spouse, or loved one, this information could genuinely be life-saving. Most people never connect their cheese choices to their blood pressure readings or cholesterol panels. Knowledge is power when it comes to heart health. If you're finding this helpful, tap that subscribe button so you don't miss our next video. And keep watching. The next 2 cheeses on this list are ones almost nobody suspects. The third category, cardiologists flag for seniors, may genuinely shock you, because these cheeses carry a reputation for being sophisticated and even light. Brie and Camembert, those beautiful soft-ripened wheels with the white, velvety rind. They look elegant. They feel like a healthier choice compared to a block of cheddar, but appearances deceive. Ounce for ounce, Brie contains approximately 8 grams of total fat, with 5 grams of that being saturated. Camembert is nearly identical. That creamy, buttery texture you love? It comes from a fat content hovering around 60 to 75% of total calories. These are among the fattiest cheeses available. Here's why this hits seniors differently. After 60, your liver's ability to process and clear LDL cholesterol from your bloodstream declines measurably. Receptor cells on the liver that grab LDL particles and remove them from circulation become less numerous and less active with age. So saturated fat from foods like brie doesn't just temporarily raise your cholesterol. It stays elevated longer, circulates more, and has more opportunity to oxidize and embed itself into arterial walls. Oxidized LDL is what forms the fatty streaks and plaques that narrow coronary arteries. That narrowing is what eventually causes chest pain, reduced blood flow to the heart muscle, and in worst-case scenarios, heart attack. But there's another concern with brie and camembert that's specific to older adults: bacterial contamination. These cheeses are made with raw or lightly pasteurized milk and rely on surface mold for ripening. The soft, moist interior is an ideal environment for Listeria monocytogenes, a bacterium that poses minimal risk to healthy younger adults but can cause severe bloodstream infections, meningitis, and even death in seniors with weakened immune systems. The CDC specifically lists soft-ripened cheeses as high-risk foods for adults over 65. Your immune system at 70 is not what it was at 40. The lining of your gut is thinner. Your white blood cell response is slower. A listeria infection that a 30-year-old might fight off with mild flu symptoms could put a 70-year-old in the intensive care unit. A gentleman named Harold, 73, spent 11 days hospitalized with listeria sepsis, traced to a wheel of imported camembert he'd purchased at a farmer's market. He recovered, thankfully, but the cardiac stress of that infection left lasting damage to his already compromised heart muscle. This doesn't mean you can never enjoy a soft, creamy cheese again. It means choosing carefully, opting for versions made with fully pasteurized milk, eating them fresh rather than past their date, and keeping portions modest. The fourth and final cheese on this cardiologist's avoid list is perhaps the most obviously problematic, yet millions of seniors still keep it in their pantries. Canned cheese, spray cheese, that bright orange substance that comes in pressurized cans or squeezable jars, usually found next to the crackers in the snack aisle. Let's be direct. This is barely food. Read the ingredient list on a can of spray cheese sometime. You'll find sodium phosphate, calcium phosphate, sodium citrate, lactic acid, sodium alginate, epocharotenol for artificial color, and enough sodium per serving to make a cardiologist wince. 2 tablespoons, a modest squeeze, hardly enough to cover 4 crackers, contains 410 milligrams of sodium, 6 grams of fat, and a cocktail of phosphate additives that research increasingly links to vascular calcification. That last point deserves emphasis. Phosphate additives, different from the natural phosphorus found in whole foods, have been shown in multiple studies to accelerate the hardening and calcification of blood vessels. A 2019 study published in the Journal of the American Society of Nephrology found that high dietary phosphate intake from processed foods correlated significantly with increased arterial stiffness and cardiovascular mortality in adults over 60. Your arteries are already losing flexibility with age. Adding phosphate-laden processed cheese products is like pouring calcium cement into pipes that are already narrowing. The combination of extreme sodium, artificial phosphates, and inflammatory seed oils creates a perfect storm for accelerated cardiovascular aging. And here's what breaks a cardiologist's heart, pun intended. Many seniors reach for spray cheese because it's easy. Arthritis makes slicing hard cheese painful. Fixed incomes make cheap snacks appealing. Loneliness makes quick, comforting foods the path of least resistance. Nobody's eating spray cheese because they think it's health food. They eat it because it's soft, it's simple, and it reminds them of easier days. But easier alternatives exist that are just as convenient without the cardiovascular toll. A tub of whipped cottage cheese, a container of part-skim ricotta, hummus. Even cream cheese in moderation, while not perfect, is a dramatic improvement over canned spray cheese in terms of additive load and phosphate content. So what can you eat? Plenty. Swiss cheese, specifically Emmentaler or Jarlsberg, contains some of the lowest sodium levels of any aged cheese. 1 ounce has only about 50 to 75 milligrams of sodium. Compare that to the 400 plus in processed American or Roquefort. Swiss also contains vitamin K2, which actually helps direct calcium into your bones instead of your arteries. That's protective, not harmful. Fresh mozzarella, the soft white kind packed in water, offers excellent protein with moderate fat and low sodium, roughly 175 milligrams per ounce. It pairs beautifully with tomatoes, basil, a drizzle of olive oil. Goat cheese, particularly fresh chèvre, provides easier digestibility for aging stomachs, lower lactose content, and a creamy texture without the extreme saturated fat load of brie. Cottage cheese, particularly low-sodium versions, delivers massive protein per serving, supports muscle maintenance that seniors desperately need, and contains minimal saturated fat. Blend it smooth if you don't like the texture. Add herbs, spread it on toast, and ricotta, part skim, fresh ricotta, gives you that soft, spreadable satisfaction with a fraction of the sodium and none of the phosphate additives found in spray cheese. The key principle is this: choose cheeses that are minimally processed, lower in sodium, made with pasteurized milk, and consumed in reasonable portions. An ounce or 2 daily of the right cheese can genuinely support bone density, muscle health, and even gut microbiome diversity in seniors. Let's bring it all together. 4 cheeses that cardiologists consistently caution seniors over 60 to avoid. Processed American cheese for its hidden sodium overload. Blue cheese and Roquefort for their tyramine content, extreme sodium, and saturated fat density. Brie and Camembert for their saturated fat concentration and listeria risk. And canned or spray cheese for its phosphate additives, sodium levels, and overall inflammatory ingredient profile. None of this means cheese is your enemy. Cheese can be a friend to your aging body, but only if you choose wisely. Read labels. Watch sodium counts. Favor fresh over heavily processed. Keep portions to 1 or 2 ounces, and talk to your doctor about which varieties work best alongside your specific medications and health conditions. Your heart has carried you through 60, 70, 80 years of living. It deserves the respect of informed choices at the table. Small swaps, Swiss instead of American, fresh mozzarella instead of brie, cottage cheese instead of spray cheese, add up to years of healthier circulation, steadier blood pressure, and cleaner arteries. You don't have to give up flavor, you just have to give up the foods that are quietly working against you. If this information helped you today, hit that subscribe button. We publish new senior health videos every week, and the next one covers warning signs your heart sends that most people completely miss. Share this video with a family member, a friend, a neighbor who might still be reaching for that spray cheese can without knowing what it's doing inside their body. And drop a comment below. Tell me which of these 4 cheeses surprised you most. I read every single one. Take care of that heart. It's the only one you've got.